I figured that was a hint.
Yeah. Well, it's,
See there.
I think last month he said, I'll see you on the 22nd. I'm like, of course. I'm thinking, what's the 22nd? Like, that's so far out. I don't know.
Live.
Good haircut and a bad haircut. That's funny. 2 weeks.
Okay, we're live.
All right, we're
That's
live.
to the back and I said, thanks, nice tip, nice hint.
Yeah, it's a little subtle.
All right, everybody, welcome to the February LNAA committee meetings. This is the Finance Committee. May we have a roll call?
Frank Facciano.
I'm here.
Paul Anthony.
Here.
Robert Brooks.
Here.
See is on the screen.
Yeah.
That on the screen.
John Hayes.
Here.
Here.
He's there too.
Yep.
Ron Heckman. Larry Hemberger. Mike Stershik. John Strauss. We have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum, so welcome again. Is there any public comment?
No, sir.
Public comment? Then we will go to a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January. Mike?
Second.
Second? Larry? And then all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're approved. Next, we're going to hear our financials from January. Todd, take it away.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, I won't be here anyway. So.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let's talk about financials. First things first, wanted to give you an update on where we are on December. We gave you preliminary financials last month that showed net income of approximately $6 million and change. There's been some significant adjustments since then, so we just wanted to kind of keep the board updated. So that number now is about $4.9 million and went down over $1.1 million since our last evaluation, and I'll talk about, we had $300,000 of demo for the connectors, tearing down some stuff over there, some of those escalators that we had to tear down that we didn't have in our original stuff that came in really late on that invoice, so we had to add that in. There was a grant reimbursable agreement that where we received money and we didn't use it all, so we have to kind of reduce some of our grants going forward. So basically, we got a grant for a specific purpose for X number of dollars. We didn't spend X number of dollars, so we have to return what we didn't use. And then there's also some asset retirements associated with the connector, some of the design, some of the, remember when we did that huge repair a few years ago on the escalators? Now, we said it was going to last 5 years. Once you rip it up, it's not worth 5 years anymore. So those are adjustments that have to be made. The only major adjustment that we have not made yet is the one for the pension, and that will also reduce the number slightly as well. Even though we had a good year on the pension side as far as return, this is the year where we changed some of our assumptions. And those assumptions were significant. Mainly, we went from 7.5 to 7.25. That's reflected in there. And then the bigger adjustment is the change in the mortality tables. So we use this mortality tables because people are living longer. That mean that. So just to give you an idea, for example, the union last year at the end of 2022 was at 91% funded. It goes to 90% with these adjustments at the end of 2023. Had we not made those adjustments, the union number would have went up to 97%. So you can see that it was a pretty big adjustment. Same thing on a non-union. Non-union is a little bit less, but it's about a 6-point swing because of those adjustments. Again, at the end of the day, you want numbers that actually reflect what you have to pay. So this one's up to you. And most of these adjustments, with the exception of the $300,000, would be below the line. So they're going to be, below operating. They're kind of not operating expenses, but just wanted to keep you up to date because these are fairly significant adjustments.
And they're not current cash, right?
The cash has already been reflected. These are just kind of bookkeeping adjustments.
Right.
Mainly in retirement. So you already pay for the assets, but we amortize it over a certain period of time. It's sort of like a car, right?
Yeah.
I bought a car up front. I expect it to last me 5 years. I got a new one, so I got to figure that out somewhere along the way. Any questions on that?
So this is an update on December,
Just
but
an update on December.
but December and end of year is still under construction.
Yeah, it's still under construction, but again, these are probably the only major adjustments we're going to have. But again, we've tried to keep the board updated because that's a pretty big adjustment for what we had. Talk about our traffic.
Actually,
For
Todd, before you go
January,
to traffic, just a quick.
had our
one
best traffic
on
since
the-
2004. We had a good month as far as traffic. Wasn't as good as what we budgeted. We actually expected it to be a little bit better than that, but it was a good month. Up from last year when we had a great year last year in January as well. But all things considered, we keep moving the bus here, no pun intended. You can see where we are compared to all U.S. airports. Now we're ahead of them. So our throughput was 30.5. All airports were 12.6. So that kind of flipped the chart from what it used to be. And you can see that our adjustment or our rebound is higher than all airports. So that secondary kind of, rebound is starting to see, we're starting to see in January compared to all airports. Still doing much better than our peers. You can see that there. Then we break down the month of January. It's only 1 month, but kind of putting things in perspective. Net revenues, expenses, we still ended up positive. We expected to be on the negative side for the month of January. But again, we worked out things. We had our budget for snow, and I think I said this last month, our budget for snow for the whole year was about $505,000. Remember my old number, 300,000?
Yeah.
We spent that in January. Just in January, it was 299,000 that we spent just on snow in the month of January. And we were still able to be positive. The person that we want to give some credit for that is not here today, which is Connie. We should all give her a little applause for all of our de-icing, which kind of helped offset some of the cost of that snow cost to run the airport. We actually got some revenue on the other side because we were doing the de-icing. So again, that was helpful. And January is an awkward month because it's 1 month, and sometimes you have changes in timing and some of that so early in the year. But start the year off on a positive note. You know, especially given how much snow we had, you don't get too upset about it. You can take it and run. Kind of breaking it down, always break down our net income without CARES. And we haven't taken any money for CARES in January since CARES was enacted. Never any money for CARES. Parking, kind of run them all down. You can see 9 and 10 is really getting into some of the subsidies that we have to do to kind of remain competitive. That terminal and that airfield, some of that is associated with the snow, but some of that is just some of the things that we have to do to lower our costs to keep us competitive because our costs are so high. So we are doing a lot of subsidies. So some of those items on the top are really subsidizing those items on the bottom. Breaking it down, again, our champion this month, and the whole team does a great job, but this month I really want to point out Connie and her team and the ground handling really did a great job. I know she's been doing a great job even in February as well. So that's great. Airfield revenue is down, and that's down because of landed weight. We got a reduction in the flight to Chicago. When was that, United, I think? United, they cut 1 flight. That'll come back, but they unexpectedly cut it down from 2 today to 1. So that's in there. And then our cargo went down, which is bigger because they're bigger planes. I know that weight went down as well. And that's reflected in the landing. So that's why that number's down. But you can see our conservative assumption there in interest, legal, and some of that is associated with some of our compliance stuff that might be later in the year that we have going on. And nuisance subscription, another one that might be a timing issue. And I'm pointing out this one here, when you look at personnel costs, I mentioned much we've been going through this. I don't think it's ever been more since we've been talking about this line where we've been more than what we budgeted. But that's really, a lot of that's because of the snow. And you can see we were over 1% over on personnel costs, 21% higher than last year in January. And you can see kind of what we're seeing on some of those increased costs there versus last year in January. And breaking it down, we always break it down with our counts. And you can see the FTEs, and that's really kind of breaks down the hours. And the hours are almost identical to what we budgeted for the month of January. They're kind of almost identical. Again, these things haven't happened since we can kind of keep track, which is always nice to have that little breathing room, because if you're landlocked and these things happen, you have no kind of wiggle room. Breaking them down by department, you can kind of see what's going on there. And then this is our cash flow for 6 months out. Some of the changes there that we got, we changed some of the timing of our cares, just getting some of that up front, this timing. Still the same amount for the year, but we got about 2 million. And then that 350 is actually from December that we just got not that long ago. So that's just timing on the cash flow. Breaking it down where we are in the bottom there, 260. Over the next 6 months, that's kind of pretty much our low point for the next 6 months there. And then this is our kind of 12-month projection out. And I'm really going to jump into the next item before we do our vote, because I really want to talk, I know it came up last month, we talked about the days cash on hand.
Yep.
And this is kind of falling into, so you can see right there, that black line here is 60 days cash on hand. And I think we had that discussion last month where it came up, hey, I like to think we have 5 months because 2 months isn't enough time to kind of figure things out. But the problem is 60 days isn't really 60 days. There's other reserves. That's 60 days after contingencies. So it gets kind of confusing. So on first look, you go, well, do you have 60 days cash on hand? No, we have 60 days cash on hand over and above our normal reserves and contingency. So what does that really translate to is really what you kind of have to factor in. So, and one back to 2017, you can kind of see there what's going on. So that black line there at the bottom is what 60 days is. That blue line is kind of what it really works out to when you throw in, where it says 146. That's really what it works out to after our contingencies. So we have basically 3 other contingencies. We have, and 2 of them are from 1973. We have our 2-month reserves, O&M reserves, which is 2 months of reserves that we have to set aside, but that can be used for operating fund deficiencies. So we have that. Then there's another 500,000 for renewal and replacement for unexpected repairs. So those have been in there since 1973. Now, when we changed our bonds, when we did our bonds in 2015, when we converted over to BMO, one of the big things that happened when we did that is previously, because of the old agreement, we had to segregate that money. We didn't have access to it. They said, no, we want you to make sure that money's over here. You can't touch it. So we were able to kind of pull that out and put it in our operating fund. So even though we still have those reserves, they said you didn't have to segregate them. So it's kind of going back to the board restriction of 2 months, because these are board restrictions. So when I say board restrictions, that means there are restrictions. So we could change them at any time. The external ones are the ones that we can't change. When it's unrestricted, if it says you got to use it for an AIP project, we can't change it. But we can change if it's 60 days or 90 days or whatever. Those are our restrictions. And then in 2019 was when we also talked about doing the 60-day cash, and we added our contingency reserve for our expenses. So that's worth another 8 days. So you start adding up as 146 days. One of the things to keep in mind, because we got recent history on this stuff. So you want to have enough cash for an emergency, right? How much cash did we have right before COVID? We had 180 days cash. We had 180 days cash in February 2020. So that's roughly what it worked out in total cash reserves that we had right before COVID. And that's probably the number we want to stay close to, somewhere in that 5-6 months. Don't want to go below there. And you can kind of break it down here. This is kind of breaking it down for us here. Bond, stacks, but it really works out to the bond reserve is 68, and that includes the 500,000. The contingency reserve is 18 days. I said 8 earlier, so I misspoke. 60-day minimum, so that works out to a pretty good number, 146 days right now. That's what we have, the way we have it situated now. Currently, right now, we have 436 days of cash. However, 116 of those are restricted that we can only use for certain purposes. So at this point, I don't know if we want to have a discussion about making that number 90, but again, or do we just want to say we want 180 days instead of showing it as 60? What's our total reserve of 100, or should I say 6 months? we got 180 days reserve instead of showing it as 6 months. Because it's easier to somebody who doesn't know that's after contingency. All in, we got 6 months reserves, and that's what, I'd rather do it that way than show 6 months. Excuse me, 60 days, and then this and this and that. It's just easier for somebody, especially as we switch members to go, well, how much reserves do you have? Well, it works out to 6 months. That's my thoughts, to make it more transparent, but again, I just wanted to put it up to the committee.
Can you show the days cash chart again with the 60 on the bottom?
This one?
No, that one.
This one.
So the line for 60 is a line we set up, and it's just like a trigger. We don't want to go below that. But you're saying that there is more unrestricted cash than the 60 days.
Because that 60 days is after reserves and contingencies.
But the difference is real money, right? It's money we have in reserve. 500,000 here. I forget which said the other one was.
500, it's 2 months of operating, O&M, operating maintenance.
That's in there.
Right. That's after, that's included when we say 60 days.
The 60,
That's
but the
confusing.
60-day line is, again, just,
Arbitrary, sounds like.
But the 60 days is after, that's why I said it's confusing, it's after those other ones. So if you just came in here and you said, oh, you got 60 days, because we actually were joking about that with our auditor the last time, and we mentioned that 60-day cash when we had our meeting. I thought it was gonna fall on the floor. He's like, you really don't have 60 days cash. No, that's after all the other stuff that we have, because he was almost in full panic mode when we said that.
If you were to redo this chart,
Mm-hmm.
assuming that we would say, let's do the 180, would you put a line across at 180 days instead of 60 days? Or would you put a line at 180 and a line at 90?
Well, what happened is, if we do it this way, because this is after reserves.
Right.
So if you do it this way, you're basically not including some of the stuff below there.
Right.
So if you make that 180, these other numbers would go up.
Okay.
Because they will reflect
Gotcha.
the number
Gotcha.
that's already in there. Right now, they're not, that's why I said it's confusing to somebody that just came in and look at it. All in, and if you look at our peer average, they're about 166 days. So that's what they're using. If you use our 10 peer airports, they have 166 days compared to what I'm saying, that 180. So if you, when they go through their stuff, they don't go this, and this. They got 166. Nobody goes, well, I got this, and this. Again, it's just trying to make it easier for people to understand.
Gotcha.
So you don't get into this, because again, 90 days does it, but does that help the person that just come in here and
Right.
says, you really have 90 or is it really 180?
That's why I asked the
So
question.
if you say it's
Really talking
180
about one-
all in, it's easier for the person to
And you're
understand.
gonna, the numbers will change
The numbers will
drastically.
probably change.
Yes,
okay.
So I don't know if that's helpful or not, does that,
yeah, that is helpful.
so I don't know what, I mean, again, it's just really about making it easier for people to understand.
Yeah, it doesn't change any of the
It
numbers.
doesn't change
It
anything,
changes
but
our
again, it's just to
trigger.
make sure that everybody understands that we got, because realistically, what do you want to pay for if you're in a really desperate situation?
Right.
2 things for sure. The first one would be debt service. 100% we want to pay for it, you have a year's debt service covered. And then the next one is probably our self-employed unemployment, which is going to be about 25% of our payroll. So if you just do those 2 together, now obviously that's bare bones and there's other things in it, that's 124 days, just those 2 together.
So, are you recommending that we make this increase
I'm recommending that we make it 180, but it's all
to
in.
make this visual more transparent?
Right.
And then everything's gonna go up. The line, our trigger line's gonna go up, and the amount of
Go back
cash
to-
on hand is gonna go up.
If you go back to here, you can kind of see all the things that are in there. Like that 174, what you're not seeing is this and this, the 68 and the 18. That's what you're not seeing as part of that 60. They're kind of built in there because it's confusing. That's why I said I just want to make sure we're on the same page because it is.
So what do you need, what do you need from us?
I think it just, because again, I don't know if we did a formal resolution, it was just kind of our
Yeah,
presentation.
I don't know if this is formal action.
Right, but it's just kind of like, I just want to make sure we're all on the
Way we
same
look at
page, that we
things,
make
right.
it 180 days all in. We good with that?
Yeah, Yeah.
I would,
Let's take
prefer
a
that.
step
Okay.
back for a
That
second
makes
and
sense?
talk about what.
Everybody
this
okay with that?
wasn't-
Okay.
Can you
John?
guys hear me? or-
Again, it's just to make it much more transparent, so that way, on first look, everybody says, oh, we got 180
I
days.
can
not
hear you.
60.
I don't know why they aren't responding.
I can't hear
but
John.
can-
I don't know if you've got any thoughts.
Todd, can you hear me at all?
We can't hear you, John.
I don't think they can hear any of us.
He was unmuted.
You gotta unmute.
Yeah, I was unmuted. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay.
And I don't, can you
I
guys
can
hear
hear
me?
you guys.
You can give us hand signals, John.
I can hear you. You can't hear me.
Does that mean stop or is that approved?
We
Oh,
can't.
that means stop.
Is she right? Right, stop.
Stop.
okay.
John, can you hear me and Dawn?
Do we have public to hear from?
Yeah, I would like to hear from John as well.
Hear me.
We-
Yeah, they can't hear
Hold on, John, we're trying to get this, fixed for you, because we can't,
Can you ask one of the others to see if they can speak?
I
yeah,
don't
see if-
know, is Bob or Don able to say anything? I don't know, we just
Was he
seem to be
typing?
having audio issues
I don't
here.
think you guys can
Check
hear
the
me
chat.
or Dawn either.
Is there, check the chat, because there might be.
There you go.
okay,
So they can hear each other.
okay.
I don't know, so he didn't hear any of that?
No. Yeah. They can hear us, but we can't hear them.
I think it's-
Try saying something now?
Can you hear me?
No, no.
Can you hear me? Hello, hello.
I can hear you, Dawn, online, but I don't think they can hear us at all.
I don't know if we're changing the intent or just
No.
making it
Apparently not.
more transparent.
Get it all inclusive.
Thanks. I was trying to ask a question during the option. They couldn't hear me either. I thought I must have been on mute or something, but obviously the problem's on their side.
Yeah, right before he went to travel, you were like, I want to talk, and he just kept rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this cash on hand thing, we've gotten completely away from the point of it all. So we got to rope everybody back in that regard.
Yeah,
But definitely,
I'm
yeah,
in the car driving,
Made it
so
part of that discussion, we do want to
I'm
get,
just a listener today.
Where are you gonna take it?
you know, his thoughts on the subject.
We're gonna take it to Abraham, isn't he fixing it?
Maybe he could call, why don't you call me, John?
Okay, I'll take it in. No, it's fine. It was straight.
Okay, can you hear us yet?
John, do we have a quorum without me on?
Yeah, I think we do, Bobby.
All right, I'm on my way to Massachusetts. My father's passing away.
Ah, shoot. Oh, I'm sorry to hear
I'm
that.
so sorry.
Thanks. It's a rough ride, and I think I'm gonna jump off.
Go ahead. Go attend to family, Bobby. Take care of that.
Oh, right.
And then our thoughts are with
Oh,
you.
I didn't call, yeah,
Be well.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
I could call him, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I thought that's what you were going.
I thought he was gonna call me.
Trying to get along.
Don, I'm going to sign off and sign back on, see if that helps.
Okay, should we all do that?
Let me try it first and see if that works. But you stay so they won't
I don't
lose
know,
all
I
of
just
it.
wanted to, I don't
So I'll be right back.
That's right, it is April.
No, all we're doing is how we show
You
it.
guys can't hear us at all?
No, I can hear you on the phone, obviously, but
Let me, now Bobby just dropped off. I'm gonna sign back in again. I just signed out. Let me see if this,
It seems like it's on our end, John.
Tom says it seems like it's on our end.
Yeah, we don't have any audio.
Okay, I just rejoined. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, just on your phone.
Just-
Oh,
Okay,
good. Okay,
okay,
not on the speaker. Well, let me put this on mute for a sec. Okay, you can't hear me on the computer.
okay, yeah, not sure what the problem is, so.
When it works.
Should John call back in as well? Bobby had to, drop off.
Okay.
So it's just Dawn and I that have called in.
I could call Dawn and then connect us all? Do I have Dawn's
Yeah,
number?
try and do
not sure I have her number. Does anybody have it?
I have it.
610-972-3239.
Shit. Sorry, Justin.
You need it again?
I do, and I have to.
Office phones are down too, so.
Oh, great. Okay. And we're doing okay on the stream, like connectivity wise, we're connected, it's just the audio in that room.
I mean, you could in essence have them go by chat.
We could,
Yeah,
we could, but I don't know that it's that critical.
I mean, all we're doing is.
We're not gonna do any, we took your presentation. We
We're not doing
understand
anything
it.
with that.
All we wanna do is wrap up this meeting.
So Colin, let us know when you are back online.
Frank, we're all ready for you to be done too.
Okay, you're back online? Okay, so Frank, we're back live.
Excellent, we're back live. So I would like a motion to accept the financial statements. That's John. Larry's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there any new business?
No new business.
Move to adjourn.
Mike moved to adjourn. We're adjourned.
Okay,
That was
great. That's finance.
Okay.
Do we have any, other than the minutes, do we have any business on the
Okay.
business?
So why don't we go ahead?
Just some updates.
Just the updates on the capital. So before we jump into business committee, we're going to pause again for just a moment, try to connect our phone, see if that restores audio, and we'll resume the stream in just a moment.
The question is whether or not it's.
I know. Do they do
It's
that?
not postponed, but like we held it.
Stop,
Oh, so just leave it, just leave it as is, yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, I guess like, yeah.